Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends, today we will discuss format of cost sheet in cost accounting. What is cost sheet? Cost sheet is a statement which is prepared by every businessman to estimate the cost of business, to estimate cost of activities so that we can know how much profit we can charge, how much will be our selling price. So cost sheet is the first step in decision making for every businessman. So in cost sheet we include all expenses, possible expenses which we are required to incur to provide the product to ultimate consumer. Let us understand the various elements of cost sheet. In cost, basically we have three elements. To make any product, we require material. Second is labor. And third is overheads. Now what is material? Material means input, which gives physical shape to that particular product. That means personality of the output depends upon the input which we have used. For example, if I am producing a shirt, the cloth which is used is called as what? Material. So that is the main expense for any product. When you are looking at the product, actually you are looking at the material. For example, when we are looking at the furniture, we are looking at the wood or we are looking at the sun mica, which is a material for the product. So material cost is the main cost which we are required to consider while producing any product. Now this material cost can be of two types. One is called as direct material cost and another is called as indirect material cost. Now what is direct material cost? Direct material is the main material which is required for production of particular product. For example, cloth is a direct material to produce a shirt. Wood is a direct material to produce a furniture. So it becomes part of main cost or prime cost of the product. What is indirect material? Indirect material means sundry material which is used for producing a product. For example, when you look at the shirt, you can look at the cloth. But what about the thread which is used for making a shirt? Now thread is not easily visible. So thread is used, but it's not visible. Its cost is also less in relation to the cost of shirt cloth. Therefore, the thread which is used is called as indirect material. When we produce a furniture, we make use of Fevicol, we are making use of nails. Those nails or gum which is used to stick the wood, we can't see. We are looking at the wood, we are not looking at the gum or nails. So the expense or cost of Fevicol or cost of nails is called as what? Indirect material. So indirect material is not part of main cost of the product. So indirect material we are transferring to a specific head which is called as factory overheads. When we purchase material for production purpose, there is possibility that when we are storing the material in warehouse or handling them, some of the material we may lose. There is possibility that some of the material may get spoiled. In that case, that unused material or spoiled material we may sell, which is called as what? Material scrap. This amount of material scrap is some recovery of cost of material. Therefore, we are required to deduct material scrap from direct material consumed. So, first element we of course we have discussed, that is material. Second is labor. Labor means the amount which we have paid to human for his work at production place. For example, wages paid to the worker, that we call as what? Labor. So that is the main cost of the product, because only material cannot produce by itself any product. There is need of human labor. So what we are paying to the humans, that is called as what? It is called as labor, or it is called as direct wages. It becomes main cost of the product. It becomes part of prime cost. Now what is indirect labor? Apart from main labor, there will be some additional labor required. For example, to make a shirt, what we are paying to the master or what we are paying to the main tailor, that will be called as direct labor. Now this direct labor has become part of main cost. But once the shirts are ready, there is need to stitch buttons, or we are required to make cars. So what we pay to the person who is putting buttons, that is relatively very less amount in relation to the tailor charges. So what we pay to the person who is putting the button is called as indirect labor. Indirect labor is not part of main cost. It will be treated as overheads, called as factory overheads. So that is the second element of cost, that is labor. Third element of cost is overheads. Now what is overheads? So apart from material and labor, all other expenses which are required to be incurred for producing and supplying any product is recognized as overheads. These overheads are also of two types: direct overheads and indirect overheads. Direct overheads we call as what? Direct expenses of the product. For example, to undertake a particular production, we are required to pay royalties to the other producer or manufacturer or a person who is owning the patents. So to produce our product, we are paying royalties on production to that particular person, will be called as what? Direct expense relating to production. Or suppose a particular machinery is bought on hire for our production purpose, so that hire charges of special equipment, special machinery is called as direct expense. So as it is a direct expense, it will become part of direct cost or prime cost. What are the indirect overheads? So indirect overheads can be of three types. First is factory overheads. Factory overheads means all expenses which we are required to incur in factory. It also includes, as we have discussed, indirect material and indirect labor, factory rent, factory rates, factory taxes, factory insurance, factory lighting, factory supervisor salary, depreciation on factory asset, factory shed, depreciation on plant and machinery. All expenses will be treated as what? Factory overheads. In factory, when production is undertaken, there may arise some amount of scrap, which we refer as what? Factory scrap. This factory scrap is also known by another name, work in progress scrap. We have discussed one scrap, that is material scrap, which we deduct from the direct material consumed. Factory scrap we are required to deduct from factory overheads. It is recovery of some amount of factory overheads which we have incurred. So factory scrap will be deducted from factory overheads. Another kind of overheads is called as administration and office overheads. So every business requires administration and office activity. So office rent, office electricity, office salaries, office rent rate taxes, depreciation on office equipment, depreciation on computers, all these expenses will be referred as what? Those will be referred as office and administration overheads. Normally such expenses are periodical and they are fixed expenses. Third kind of overheads is selling overheads. Selling and distribution overhead means all activities and expenses which we are required to make to make product available to the final consumer. For that purpose, we may undertake advertisement. So advertisement expense is a part of selling overheads. Packing expenses, packaging expenses, carriage outwards, salesman salaries, salesman commission, showroom rent, these all expenses are relating to selling and distribution. So that is called as what? Selling and distribution overheads. So these are the three main types of overheads: factory overheads, administration overheads, and selling overheads. In case of cost sheet, one more element is required to be understood here, that is about the stocks. Stock means the ready goods, which may be of three types. One is raw material stock, another is work in progress stock, and third is finished goods stock. Now what is raw material stock? Raw material stock means stock of goods, that is inputs, which we are purchased for the purpose of production. So accordingly there will be opening stock of raw material at the beginning of the year and closing stock of raw material at the end of the year. Opening stock we are required to add and closing stock we are required to deduct when we calculate direct material consumed. Another type of stock is called as what? Work in progress. It is also called as semi-finished products. That means it is neither raw material nor it is finished goods. So on 31st March, there is possibility that some material we have introduced in machinery, so that material is under process. It has not converted into finished goods. But as processing already started, it is not a raw material, it is not a finished goods. So it will be in between raw material and finished goods, which we call as what? Semi-finished product, or it is called as work in progress. So work in progress also will have two stocks: opening stocks and closing stock. That we are required to, opening we are required to add, and closing we are required to subtract, same like of raw material. Third type of goods are finished goods. Finished goods means which are ready for sale, ready for consumption. So at the beginning of the year, we may have certain stock of finished goods, which we call as opening stock of finished goods. At the end of the year, we may have certain unsold stock, that is called as closing stock of finished goods. Opening stock of finished goods is added to cost of production. Closing stock of finished goods is subtracted from cost of production. So these are the basic elements which we are required to understand before starting with actual format discussion of cost sheet. The first part of cost sheet is prime cost, where we are required to calculate the amount of direct material consumed. So while calculating direct material consumed, we are required to start with opening stock of raw material. To opening stock of raw material, we are required to add purchase of raw materials from local market, purchase of raw material from foreign market, that is import of raw material, freight on material, that is carriage on material, carriage inwards, insurance of material in transit, dock charges, import duties, loading and unloading of charges on material, raw material returned from other departments, material used in primary packing, octroi. These are the items we are required to add, and we are required to deduct closing stock of raw material, material returned to suppliers, that is purchase return of material, material transfer to other sites, other department, abnormal loss of material. Abnormal loss will be deducted because it will be directly charged to costing, profit and loss account. Duty drawback. Now what is duty drawback? Duty drawback means if we have used a particular product input and we have paid taxes on that, if finished product is exported or finished goods is of very important nature, then government returns whatever taxes we have paid on purchase of those inputs. So that is called as what? Return of tax by government, which is called as duty drawback. So it is a reduction of cost, therefore it is deducted for calculating direct material consumed. Next item of direct cost is direct wages, that is direct labor. Wages to productive workers. Now productive workers means workers those are actually involved in production process, production activities. Then actual amount paid, any outstanding amount, unpaid amount is required to be added. Allowances and bonuses to productive workers, cost of amenities to productive workers. Next, third item, we have direct expenses, that is cost of patents, royalty on production, cost of drawings, consultant fees, license fees for special order, subcontracting expenses, etc. By adding three items, direct material, direct labor and direct expenses, we arrive at prime cost, which is also called as main cost of the product. To this we are going to add factory overheads, factory expenses, factory rent, rate, insurance, factory lighting, factory supervision, motive power, fuel and oil, grease, water, steam, consumable stores, idle time wages, cost of training workers, expenses of trial run, excise duty, drawings office salaries. Now what is drawing office salaries? The word used office salaries, but it is shown under the factory overheads. Drawing means engineering drawing, which is required for any particular product, instruments. So that salary is paid in factory, therefore it comes under factory overheads. Welfare expenses, laboratory expenses, depreciation on factory building, repairs, indirect wages, unproductive wages, estimation expenses, technical director salaries, haulage of machinery, cost of rectification, loose tools written off, material handling charges, factory stationery, works manager salary, works clerical staff salary, supervision salary, storekeeper salary, service department expenses, factory clearing, cleaning, all other factory expenses. We have to add all factory overheads and we are required to deduct less scrap sales, that is sale of work in progress scrap or factory scrap. To this then we are going to add opening stock of work in progress and we are going to deduct closing stock of work in progress. It will be considered as gross works cost, gross factory cost before adding opening stock of work in progress. After deducting closing stock of work in progress, we get factory cost, which can be called as net works cost or net factory cost. To this we are going to add office and administration overheads, office rent, rate, taxes, AC charges, staff salaries, counting house salaries, office lighting, office cleaning, printing, stationery, postage, telegram, office conveyance, depreciation on office building and furniture, depreciation on office equipment, loss of profit insurance, office repairs, directors fees, sundry expenses, legal expenses, audit fees, etc. After adding office and administration overheads, we arrive at value called as cost of production. To cost of production, we add opening stock of finished goods, we deduct closing stock of finished goods. Thereby we get cost of goods sold, that is COGS, cost of goods sold. To cost of goods sold, we add selling and distribution overheads, advertisement, showroom expenses, traveling expenses, commission on sales, sales salaries, discount allowed, final packing and forwarding expenses, fancy packing, cost of printing, price list, exhibition fairs, entertainment expense of sales staff, bad debts, samples and gift, after sale service expenses, demonstration expenses, market resource expenses, carriage on sales, rent of warehouse, expenses of delivery van, collection charges, cost of catalog printing, cost of mailing literature, cost of tenders. After adding selling and distribution overheads, we arrive at total cost, or it is called as cost of sales. To the amount of total cost, if we add profit, finally we are going to get sales amount. To total cost, if we add profit, finally we arrive at the amount of sale price. While preparing cost sheet, we are required to also consider per unit cost. For example, manufacturer is manufacturing 100 shirts. Then what is the cost of one shirt? So how to get per unit cost? For that purpose, we are required to do simple calculation. If we are required to calculate per unit direct material, that means one shirt consumes how much material, then our formula is total direct material cost divided by units produced. Similarly, direct labor, total direct labor divided by unit produced. Per unit direct expenses, total direct expenses divided by unit produced. This we can do for factory overheads. This also we can do for office overheads. Once office overheads are calculated, we have arrived at cost of production. Then if we are calculating per unit selling overheads, then there will be big change in formula. Per unit selling overheads we can calculate by taking total selling overheads divided by units sold. Till that point we were using unit produced. Once we come to the stage of selling overheads, we are required to divide total selling overheads by units sold. Logic is, we cannot apply selling expenses to those units of output which are not actually sold. So we are going to charge selling overheads only to those units of finished goods which are actually sold. Therefore, we are dividing here by units sold. This is the format of cost sheet we have discussed and learned today. Thanks for watching this video. Stay in tune with Ekeeda and subscribe to our channel Ekeeda. Thank you.